taking item, the slide was taken out of order, so now we go back to item B1, which is the city's budget. So the mayor has released a budget proposal a couple months ago and held some public meetings on it. There are meetings in the various council districts going on tonight, and there's a period of time, let's see,
and tomorrow.
They've had a few already. D7 and D5 has had theirs. District 9 is tonight, and they go on through my district. District 6 is the last one on May 26th. Then the council discusses the budget at the June meetings, probably over several meetings, right? Isn't it? Or is it all done in one day?
I think the last scheduled council meeting is June 28th, but traditionally that meeting is canceled. So there won't be a June 28th meeting. So it'll have to be done by like the 21st. I think it's when they,
I have some dates for you if you're curious. The initial public hearing is going to happen May 17th. The mayor's June budget message is released on June 3rd. Then the final public hearing is June 13th. And the following day on June 14th is when the mayor's June budget message is reviewed and approved by the city council. And then officially on June 21st is when the council officially adopts the budget.
what was the final public hearing?
21st. June 13th.
And what was May 11th, May 17th?
The initial public hearing. And the council study sessions are occurring all throughout this week.
Okay, so if the Neighborhoods Commission is going to give any input to the budget, to the council on the budget, it needs to be done this month, because if we do it in June, then it's pretty much will be overtaken by events, yes. So, has anybody read the budget, and does anybody have comments on it? What do we want to write a letter to the council? And if so, traditionally we've written a letter to the council and made comments on it.
Right, a reminder that this is one of your 4 responsibilities as a commission, so you are pretty much obligated to weigh in on the budget in some way, shape, or form. Traditionally, in the past, you've sent a letter stipulating what you support, what you think the priorities ought to be from the point of view of the neighborhoods. So that's pretty much what we're going to discuss with this evening.
Exactly. So
we have some input from some of the
right. So we gave some input in February. We gave some initial comments to it on behalf of us. We talked about illegal dumping. I sent a letter on behalf of District 6. Next week you gave someone. Next month you gave someone on behalf of District 5. I don't know if anybody, other districts have sent in comments, but those were done. You sent some in on behalf. That's right. You sent in some on behalf of
The pedestrian bridge needs
pedestrian
funding.
bridge,
It's on the plan from for the trails, and
that's done by the Almaden Valley, by the Bass Pro, is it?
right
Okay.
on the Guadalupe Reach 12.
Okay. Mimi?
Hi, everyone. Just so I'm clear, so this is my understanding of the process right now. Before they come up with the budget, we gave some input, and those were the letters that we composed earlier in the year. Okay, now, I know we had our meeting on Saturday, and I'm going through the budget that was proposed, that was presented.
Right.
So now, I have the opportunity to respond, or do we have the opportunity? Is it a response as a district representative, or as the commission representative, as a commission together? that we.
We as a commission can give general comments that we agree on here, and then in addition, you can give comments as an individual from your district. And everybody's welcome to do that. So there is this mayor's budget, and I've read through it. That's, I suppose, at the council meeting, at the district meetings, they go through these, basically go through this.
They go like a general overview, and the majority of the time we see stuff with questions. So hopefully they're questions that pertain to the budget items. So I have my notes, and I was going to draft something. So is that something that, you see, I forgot my copy, otherwise I would have been able to point out the items on there. So how do we approach this?
That's why I'm kind of floundering here a little bit, because in previous years, we had a task force that worked on it, and came up with a letter beforehand, and
Right.
that we discussed, and then it was voted on, and
Right.
then set out, and
It doesn't need to be a complicated process, and I think for the purpose of this evening, it could be as simple as focusing on several priorities that you think are important out of the budget discussions today. In the previous years, you've had an actual ad hoc committee with a chair that drafted a version that all of you saw, and then you worked on it, and then you decided that's what it was going to be. My suggestion to you for this evening is that you agree on some of the items that you want to include in the letter, and then that you empower the chair and maybe one or two other members of the commission to actually draft the letter. They'll send it to me, and then I'll send it to the attorney for their look through, and then we can get it published and sent to the council. I'll send it to the clerk's office so that it's included as part of the budget items that the council will be looking at, and it'll go to the public record. That's the process that I'm recommending that you do, so that you get it in on time before the June budget message then. So all of you have had a chance. We provided you a link with the mayor's budget message, so we wanted you to take a look at it again. As most of you, some of you have mentioned, you've already highlighted some of the things you thought were important for your own districts and or neighborhood groups. You might want to chat about what those priorities were, and then kind of highlight what items you support in the budget message that is has been forwarded. I mean, do you support whatever is in there, whether it's increased library usage or hours or building of more parks? I'm just throwing out examples that in the past you've addressed. You can also, and in the past this has been an issue. This is an issue that's come up. You can also support the bond measure that's being advocated as raising money for general revenue enhancement. You can do that. You can't advocate for it, but you can say, and you have in the past, you've supported, a bond measure having to do with libraries, the Measure O. So you can talk about supporting those things as part of the budget discussion in order to bring money into the city coffers.
so this time there is no bond, but there is a 4% sales tax.
Yeah, whatever the actual, wording is on that. I'm just throwing that out as examples as to what's on the table this coming year in the budget cycle, what the mayor's talking about, what council members are talking about, what they're going to be considering.
So it's about 20-page budget, and I brought a copy, but we don't have copies for everybody.
Well, everybody, that's why we provided a link.
You all have it.
We're not going to keep killing trees. Right.
Where was the link provided?
It was
I just
emailed
looked,
to
I
you.
was actually looking, and all I found was, I found last year's budget letter.
That was last week.
Oh,
It was
that's
last
Yeah.
week.
It was emailed,
Yeah.
Emilio sent out an email to everybody with a link to that.
Right.
And
Okay.
It was a separate email, just to make sure that you didn't get it lost in the shuffle.
Mhm.
so, I have read through I've not gone to any public community meetings. Like I said, my district is May 26th, which is kind of after the fact. We can go to any budget hearing that we want to, but we'd like to have some discussion tonight too. So I don't have a PowerPoint prepared, but I would like to kind of go through some of the items here. I read the budget here. I think I'm actually pretty pleased with what's in it. It has a lot of good things in it, and there's some things that we have recommended in the past that are in the budget. So I'd like to acknowledge that the mayor has incorporated things that we have recommended that are in the budget, and maybe add a few things. I mean, like I heard the traffic calming was mentioned. I don't remember if traffic calming was in here, so we might add.
I don't think it was in there either.
So it's kind of hard reading 20 pages to find out what isn't there. So that's one reason for having the discussions here. So that's what I'm trying to get going. Okay, yes, Pete.
Yeah, let me point out that what you have right there is the mayor's March budget message, which is the initial outline of it.
Correct.
What came out last Monday on the 2nd was the city manager's response to that.
Right.
So the actual budget proposals that we should be reacting to are not that. It's something else. So he gives a structure, the city manager responds, they come back in May, the mayor does with another reaction, then they sort it all out in June.
Yeah.
But what we should be responding to is actually the proposals by the various departments. And this baby is, hundreds of pages thick. So let me suggest this, because I must say I'm really against the idea that we will sort of flip together some sort of letter tonight and send that down the line. I just don't think it's worthy of our time. I think we should form an ad hoc committee to write a letter. If we can come up with a way to circulate it around for comment, maybe by posting on the Neighborhoods Commission website or something like that, great. But we should come back in June, and I suggest we take Nicole's idea of doing sort of a group edit as much as possible, and then we can issue the letter right away. But that gives us all an opportunity to comment, to do some research, to dig into things. Right now, we're reacting to the wrong document, to be honest with you.
And if you don't mind, I had attended the budget presentation by the mayor, so I was not really looking for his budget message. I was actually looking for the budget, numbers, sums, that kind of stuff.
Right, I was kind of reading through.
I did finance at one point,
Right, I was
so
looking
when you
through-
talk a budget, I've seen,
I was trying to find a spreadsheet with how many dollars for the police department, how many
It's out
dollars
there.
for the other thing. I did not
Yeah.
see that. It was saying, I would like the city manager to add 100,000 for this, and I'd like to see 20,000 added for that.
yeah, but that doesn't, if you don't know what the 100,000 is being added to, yeah.
That's on the main website. There's the budget office link, and the budget is all laid out there. It's really well developed. It's laid out by chapter. So, for example, I've dug out all the illegal dumping proposals that ESD has had. There's some stuff about traffic calming, like $1,000 is all in DOT. But I mean, that's the real meat that we should be reacting to, not the outline that was given to them to react to.
Okay,
So I would really like to see us form this ad hoc and try to at least do it right.
I agree with Pete, and I would agree to be in that meeting with you if we do move forward with that.
so if we have a committee, then we don't do anything more tonight, or do we want to have some discussion and input? What do you think about what direction right now?
So, let me interject this, and I'm gonna say this once, because this is an old argument, and I've heard it so many times before. The reason I suggested a reaction to this evening to empower somebody to put together a letter was not simply because it was a good idea. It's what the commission has talked about in the past, which is if we send a letter out in June, it's too late. Yes. And I've heard this from all of you around this table over and over again. I'm just going to say this once. You can form the ad hoc committee and go into the great detail of the budget, and that is your prerogative. And staff will support you in whatever way you want to. But part of what I just want to remind the commissioners, because then we get this reaction later on as to we sent it so late, it really didn't have an impact, is exactly that. Make your decision based upon what you think makes sense for you, and staff will support you. If what you want to do is to go ahead and put together an ad hoc committee, and look at in great detail all the items and do that. That's perfectly fine. That's what you decide to do. But I think that, part of why you started looking at this in February was so that you put a letter together early on enough in the process to have an impact. And that's all I'm reminding you of, because otherwise we come back and somebody says, we're not being effective because by the time we get a letter out, it's already June and the decisions are already made. So I'm just reminding you that this is a discussion that's been going on yearly, and I've listened to it every year. And so I just want to remind people that the commission does what the commission does. And so do what you want to do, staff will support you.
So I was thinking that we would have kind of a general high-level letter, 1 or 2 pages with what we feel the community thinks is important, rather than a detail going through and saying item number so-and-so should be, we would recommend an extra $5,000 for traffic. We can say traffic, I'm speaking on traffic calming because that just happened to stick in my mind. Rather than saying the budget should be this number instead of that number, just say traffic and calming is important to the community. And for example, I was going to go through here and discuss, I think it's important to, they had items about illegal fireworks in here. There are items about illegal dumping in here. There's items about supporting the parks with additional rangers. Just highlight a few things like that I think are important to us in the community. As a high-level letter, I'm not ready, I don't want to draft it tonight, so I still want to have an authorization from this group here to, a motion to authorize the writing of a letter. I'd like to have some help on it, but I'm trying to get what we think is important. That's the discussion I was going for here. So if we don't have the entire budget, I could go through the main points in the budget. I thought I might spend about 5 minutes doing that, if that would be worthwhile. Let's see. You have a comment?
So they can make a motion
Yeah? You want to make a motion?
at this point? Are we ready to do that? Or?
Not for,
Sure.
okay.
They can make a motion at any time.
You can make a motion anytime, so you want to make a motion? Okay.
To empower you, Larry Ames, to be the sponsor of the effort to write the letter and effectively do what we did last year that seemed to work so well. And I can't go into any more detail about that without taking too much time, but if someone could help streamline whatever that next piece is, that would be great. Dave, maybe?
Okay, Dave?
Is that a motion, and could I speak to
It's
it?
an incomplete motion, but
Okay.
we move this quickly.
In the past, as you pointed out, there was a ad hoc committee that listened to input, understood the budget, like everybody went through the setting process with the community involved. And the first draft was, as you mentioned, high level, no more than 2 pages. And it first explained in general how we felt about the budget. Was it overall priorities and weight, pretty much as neighborhoods and the community and the commission felt, plus or minus on a scale, but you don't put it that way. Like generally we support and feel encouraged or something like that, with some conditions. Next, 1 or 2 or 3 comments about general areas of weighting. Financial health, community health, public safety, and whatever else, but maybe no more than 2 or 3 in the general priority of what's important. Back when we were struggling for financial survivability and staying away from, when we were hacking and healing, so to speak. Those were different times, and we had to speak within those conditions. Now it's a little different. So I would suggest that, to support your comment, keep it high level and start with our general feel about how this fits with the priorities and values of neighborhoods. And then second, a couple of comments about priorities. And third, also mentioned by the commissions and neighborhoods were, and maybe 6 bullets. It's kind of set by, they could include things discussed tonight. And then top it off with kind of something at the end of the sandwich about we look forward to, and so on and so forth. And keep it simple, but keep it high level, but speak to some of the issues, but don't drill too deep.
Very good. So what are those issues? So, like I said, in this budget, I think actually what I saw I'm pretty happy with, and I feel like they recognize a number of our inputs already, and I would sort of like to emphasize them, that it was important, that we appreciate that they have in here items about illegal dumping, illegal fireworks, more for the parks, park rangers, more of the, trying to be more efficient about some of the things that Joe Horwill was asking about in the budget last year, was talking about getting the, using technology to improve the police department. I saw that those items were in here. So I remember the discussions last year when we talked about the work plan. Those were some of the things he was asking for in here, and I'm glad to see that they are here. I'm basically reinforcing specific items in here. I don't see, honestly, I don't see anything to complain about. Now I'm trying to find things that are missing, and so who was it that talked about traffic calming? I started flipping through here to see chapter because I don't remember hearing it. So if it's missing, I'm going to add that. You know, and what other items are missing from here? Desiree.
I'd like to see some support for the DOT program Street Smarts, which is also part of the Vision Zero. We have a great traffic safety education officer, Cordell Bailey, who goes around to different meetings in our communities, and he provides those really great yard signs that say "Drive neighborly" and watch for pedestrians. So those are really popular in the neighborhoods. And we have a high demand for those signs and not enough of them, so the support for the Street Smarts would be great, as well as crime prevention for SJPD.
So this is what I'll do, Larry, since Juan and I had already drafted our letter with the priorities and suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
What I'll do tonight is that I'll look at what was given to us on Saturday that had a little bit more detail as to 80,000 more towards this, 200,000 more towards that. I'll do a comparison and I'll send you that. So
okay.
Out of what we already identified in our section, whether it was economic development, human services, housing, I'll compare it against what actually came out, and I will send you a bullet point from District 5 that has that, because to me that's just the easiest way. What I had asked for and what was given, and they just send you the bullet points on that.
And then I can fold that into this letter. So I have from my district the wish for park rangers and more services for the park maintenance. And I need to go through this myself, just to remind myself here. Part of the budget here is saying to live with, so summarizing the budget, it kind of says live within our means and to save up a little bit because we're in kind of a flush times right now, so we have a very slight surplus and save it rather than trying to spend it all because it's going to be harder coming up soon. I'm all in favor of living well within our means. I mean, that's my personal budget.
So I would, I'm sorry, Larry.
Yes.
Let me add, I almost forgot to mention this. So when they did the presentation to our district on Saturday morning, they went over and they kind of described sales tax and how much of your sales tax goes here, and they kind of dwindled it down and showed you how little money the city gets. Then they kind of projected whether we were going to be in the red or the black, and right now we have a surplus, but then they show you the forecast, and it shows that in 2 years we're actually not going to have a surplus, we're actually going to be in deficit. So setting the stage, kind of like letting us know, hey, we don't get that much money from you, and then even though we are doing good this year, we expect a shortfall in the coming years, and then they presented the budget to us, you know, very high-level overview. But they did provide us a good 15 pages that showed more detail. So when, Larry, when you're talking about living within our means, I think you also need to look at the fact that they are projecting that we are going to have a shortfall in the coming years. So keeping that in mind.
Right.
Just FYI, I think it was last night, my husband and I attended the, what is it, the VTA meeting that was actually in the same room. They had seating for about 200 people, and there was about a dozen people. And they, as you may be aware of or not, there is a half-cent increase for funding VTA, and they will be that would be last for 30 years. It would put about $500 million in San Jose, it looked like, for over 30 years for road improvements of various kinds, including pavement repairs, bicycle trails. They had it.
A lot of it goes for BART too.
It's mostly for BART.
Bart,
A big chunks for BART, but considering we were the largest city, they just sort of do it. It looked like they were doing it almost on a per capita basis for how it was coming back. So we had the largest chunk of the non-big project thing, looked like. Those meetings, oh, by the way, just one last quick. Those meetings are ongoing. I recommend you go to them because you can ask all kinds of questions about that and decide if you want to vote for the half-cent.
this is not a key budget item, but if there's room and it fits, if the mayor and the council and the staff can encourage and structure an opportunity for increased and growing volunteerism, that would certainly help the resource base throughout the city for many functions.
Also,
Robert?
also, our community streets are in very bad shape. I mean, potholes, bad potholes, huge potholes. I think, I spoke on that issue on May 2nd during the meeting, and I think that should also be addressed in the budget report, along with traffic calming. Very
Yeah,
strongly on that.
So, yeah, traffic calming was one that I don't remember seeing in here, and I know it is important to the
Well, I
neighborhood.
think we should include that.
In my neighborhood, they're doing a road diet, which is a very, I think they'd be very successful. I think it's good in my neighborhood, where they've taken the 4-lane roadway and made it into 2 lanes with the left turn in the middle and then 5 lanes on the sides. And it took a while to get accustomed to it from the community. There were some traffic jams at first, but it's made the neighborhood a lot more of it's a downtown district shopping village. It's been a very, I think, successful. Like I said, it was a learning curve, but I think that's calmed the traffic. Leslie, you have comments?
Well, I would, since my meeting's tomorrow night in my district, and I've gone over the budget before, and we went to that community a month ago. So I'd like to send you my comments too from what I hear from my community tomorrow night.
Okay.
I can send it to you. But my feeling is, I mean, I'm sure you probably don't want to write that letter by yourself, so if there's people willing to help you.
So
And then we could get
after a few
something out in
people-
the next couple of weeks, we probably feel.
Yeah, we need to get it done before the next commission meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's too
Yeah,
late.
that's what I'm
But
saying, the next couple of
we want to
weeks, yeah.
aim for probably, what do you think, May 20th? Probably the one in the commission meeting in my area, and the budget meeting in my district is May 26th.
That's
I
pretty
would want
late,
to
yeah.
send this out before
Oh, yeah.
then.
Yeah.
I think that's too
Well, the
late.
initial public hearing, she said, was May 17th, and that's what I wrote down. I don't know what that means exactly, but,
That's-
so, that gives you a week, so.
Come join me tomorrow night in her district.
That's just what I was, I think I have another meeting going on that night. I'll find one that I can make it to. How do we feel about the 0.25% sales tax? Do we want want to support that. I mean, that's one of the main items in the budget here.
Where does that go? What's that allocated for?
That would
Maybe
then,
public.
it goes for the general funds, but the main thing is it would add $30 million this year, $40 million per year afterwards, and that becomes part of the balancing of the budget.
And they supposedly were gonna earmark it for public safety.
Yeah, because
That was a concern. I mean, where does it say that?
You cannot
exactly?
earmark it, because if you earmark it, then it requires a 2/3 vote.
Yeah.
If it goes in the general
That's
fund, it
right.
requires
So that's why they
50%
didn't
plus
say that.
one.
Yeah.
unfortunately, the general fund's like a black hole.
Right,
Mhm.
so that's one of the questions, do we support that or not?
You know.
Do we want to say it one way or the other? We don't have to weigh in on every
No,
single,
but you know,
we
that's.
don't have to weigh in on every single item
No,
there.
no, no, but that's just a concern I have. I appreciate the tax if you can earmark it
Yeah,
or
but
make
that's
sure
what they,
it is what we
yeah,
spend
but that's
that
what
money
they
on.
said,
to be
exactly what Larry
tangible-
said, if you
tangible
earmark it, then,
results.
yeah. But that's what they're talking about, they'd like to
Right.
use that money.
Yeah.
I have the same concern because I read through and it's not specific to me as to where they're going to spend the money.
Yeah, they cannot say.
Well, if they say, then it really, it's a different kind of tax.
Yes, you
You have to have 2/3 vote of the public. This one is just like a general vote.
Yeah, I have a hard time making a decision on it for the same fact that I don't have enough information, and I'd rather not add taxes if I don't know what they're going to, than add taxes and find out that it's going to something that is not a priority of our neighborhood.
Okay, so we will not make a point about the 1/4% sales tax in our letter. Okay.
Well,
Dave.
I was at-
A question. If we're writing a letter about the budget, is the commission excluded, precluded, or allowed to comment on where it might like to see those funds prioritized?
Yes.
Is that I'm asking it as a legal question.
I'm not a legal person.
I understand that, but
I think that the letter, probably we should stay away from that. You just talk about priorities of what the money should be spent on without signposting that you think the bond money ought to be spent on this. So that's not a legal opinion, that's just simply
Yeah.
what the commission is charged with is not determining, where you're gonna spend the bond money as much as it is that what the priorities are based on your overview of the neighborhood, so.
And if we speak to the priorities and those funds become available, that speak will apply to those priorities to the extent that they.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, as you're going on through this discussion, I know there was a semi-motion that was made a little bit earlier, which no second. So, do you have a motion, or where are you
Right
going?
now, it's just kind of having discussion, and then I was gonna go for motion, if that was, or do you, okay, yeah, okay, Norma.
Yes, there's always something that's nowhere in writing, and I don't believe this was one of the discussions at the mayor's community budget meeting, but it is something I have been observing recently, probably because I've missed a few turnoffs because I can't see. I don't even know if this will fall under traffic calming or what, but I don't care where we are out there on Monterey, going on to Capitol, or coming off of Capitol. There are just areas that are so in need of shearing up because they've got these trees hanging over the signs, and I would not be a bit surprised if there have not been accidents already. I just want all of you to pay attention. You cannot see these signs.
Okay.
Okay? I don't know where it would fall.
So we have a kind of a motion for me to write a letter to the town.
I withdraw my motion.
Huh?
I withdraw my incomplete motion. And I have a question,
You wanna make a motion, or?
not at this point.
Okay.
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
So on the general fund sales tax question, was the decision that we would not comment on it at all? Or would our comment be that we have concerns about where the money would be spent? I feel like we have to say something about it.
I'd like to say something.
I have the floor. So I feel like we don't have any credibility if we don't say something about it. We have to comment on a major activity like that. And if the sentiment is, yes, of course we want more money to balance the budget, or we want the budget to be balanced, and we aren't comfortable with the lack of accountability around putting in the general fund, you know, sort of put those concerns in our letter and then move on. Because I don't think anyone necessarily loves the idea. I don't know that the people who proposed getting the money that way love having it come in that way either. It's just the only way to do it, perhaps. So one, I think we need to comment on that sales tax one way or another. And then two, question about timeline. So Ernest, what's the drop dead date that this has to be in the mayor's hands for it to have an impact?
Well, ideally, it should be in the mayor's hand, you know, probably within a week or so.
But what
Ideally,
date is
but
that?
when you're talking about a drop dead date, I think, as was brought up a little bit earlier in terms of the dates that the council is looking at, making decisions, early June would be the drop dead date when they start taking the actual votes on the budget. So
But they made up their mind by then.
I want to be super
Right.
granular. I'm looking at a calendar right now. Because I feel like every year we say, it's too late, it's too late, it's too late. We actually have the chance right
Right,
now
well,
to have it in someone's hands.
what is the first date they'll vote on the budget? That's the drop dead date.
Great, let's get that date.
The June 14th
June,
is
yeah.
final review / approval by the city council, but I do want to make a note about another date. So May 25th by 5 p.m. That's actually the deadline for, they're called budget document proposals. So every council office also has the opportunity, or every council member has the opportunity to submit his or her own budget recommendations that maybe were not included in the mayor's message. And so that date is May 25th for council offices. So if you're trying to get this into the hands of people who might be able to add things,
Probably about the same time,
probably
around
that
that
date.
time, because
You probably want it a few days earlier so they can get a chance to
Right.
fold it in.
Well, again, being super granular here. Again, I wish we had a calendar in front of me. I do this for a living, so let's go with that. The District 6 meeting is on Thursday, May 26th.
right.
I'm just.
No, and I think what you're asking is legitimate. What is a drop dead date? Well, that's all open to how you need that. If May 25th is the date that council offices send up their own budget items, and that's each individual office sends up, I'd like to have this, this, and that, which is in addition to what the mayor and everybody else is talking about, then all those documents are flowing up. You're still having a community budget meeting right around that time. I think if what you're talking about is when do they make up their minds,
Okay,
that it's going to be either happening right now or happening no later than that, because that's the advocacy period for the individual council offices. So what you're trying to do is put your letter in with the stream they're all going to be looking at
okay.
right before they vote on the 14th.
So looking at Desiree's calendar and Larry's calendar, my own calendar,
Yeah.
multiple calendars here. If we had a letter in the flow, in the stream by June 1st,
Right.
would that give it the maximum exposure, the maximum
That would give
impact?
you the exposure along with everybody else.
Okay.
Maximum exposure would be you send it up now, but you're not going to do that. That just is not going to happen.
Responsibly do
So
that, right?
what you're trying to do is put yourself into the stream, because what I'll do, like I said, is put it in to be added to the documents that council, like last year, I think it was last year, you sent up two different letters regarding, I think you sent up a budget letter and I forget the other letter. They were added to the clerk's record, so they were part of the public record the public got to see on the budget. So the council members also see those. So we didn't send them directly to the council offices, although we did drop off copies. We also entered them to the clerk's record, which means the public can see everything.
Okay.
So that's all part and parcel of what they're going to be looking at. It's like those salmon swimming upstream. You're going to be right in that mix with everything else.
I remember one time handing the mayor a paper copy that I had in my back pocket because that was the only thing they had.
That's Larry Ames' way of doing things.
No, I mean, because it was,
I know.
it was too late,
Yeah.
he was needing a copy. Was that 2 years ago maybe then that happened?
Yeah.
Given the amount of time and effort we're all expending this, again, I'm looking to have us at least have a letter in the floor. Right, so I also recall, again, this may be with other matters, that there's time needed from when we send it to you and Ernest to then be reviewed or vetted or posted, or, like, there's some time in between.
Right,
before
because it's
it
gotta
gets
go to the
into my
attorney's
hands.
office for review first.
So how long do we need to allow for that?
I've got a new city attorney I'm working with, probably no more than a day or two.
So then June 1 would still hold if we, is there anyone else in this
No.
process who effectively would hold it up?
Once Larry, you authorize Larry to write the letter, he gives a draft, I send it to the attorney says, fix this or fix that, you can't say this, you can't do that, or, and they usually don't, then it's good to go to the mayor and council.
Thank you.
This is something we can't control. When he finishes, sends it to you, then it's a matter of you send it to who first,
It just goes to the attorney.
and then anybody else.
After that, once Larry signs it, then I send it to the mayor, council, and clerk's office.
Are there any estimated turnaround time that the attorney may have that letter? And how long if the Q and
Probably a
A?
day or two.
So we should have it to you 3 to 5 days before it goes into the stream, so to speak.
Right.
And that date, just for given all of our calendars here, the last community budget meeting is Thursday, May 26th. So Friday, May 27th, maybe the 27th, 28th, 29th, have it written by Sunday night and submitted on Monday.
Monday's a holiday.
We go back to June 1st. Okay, so Larry, how about writing the letter the night of the 26th?
How about I write it this next week and have some time to
Finish it.
review it?
Right, finish it, then, I know, you read it before, but you finished it the night of the 26th, submitted on the 27th with the team.
Honestly, I think we want to be by the May 25th instead. That's when all these things go to the council. I think that's the date of the meeting.
Who's in District 6?
I am.
You want to submit the letter before your district meeting?
Yes,
I don't, why?
because my council member never listens to anything the commission says.
Well, that's the spirit, that's the spirit
That's
of
why he chooses
collaboration
the date.
and teamwork, and come
That's why
on,
the
you're on the record, Larry. So I
So
would,
is he. I'm sorry.
I would assert that
You don't have our
the
council
community
members.
engagement of the budget meeting would be valid support.
I was
But
hoping
regardless,
I was going to go to one of the earlier ones and listen to what the mayor says anyhow. I was going to go to maybe D1.
so I guess what I'm, pointing to is that we have the letter in Ernest's hands the morning of Friday the 27th. I don't know that anything's gonna happen with it because it's Memorial Day weekend. What I just don't want is for us to put all this time and effort, the weeks and months that we've all put into this, especially the folks who really, wrote multiple letters.
Actually, let me have it in my hands on the 26th. And because on Friday the 27th, I have surgery, and I'll be out all day. So the 26th.
Which means I still cannot attend the meeting because that's in the evening.
Can we send it to the attorney directly as your delegate?
I have been
All right,
sending,
so I'll expect something by the 26th. My suggestion to you is that as you do the draft, coming up on the week of the 23rd, that you do a draft and then we post it online for comments from commissioners if they'd like to make comments, and then they can individually do comments. You don't talk to each other, remember, please.
so I don't want to spend too much time on working on the deadline. I'm going to figure out the content right now. Who's going to help me with this thing? So let's see, Nicole, will you be willing to help me with this thing?
So I'll be willing to help you come up with a date, because if we don't have a date, then anything we're gonna do is a waste of time.
If it's the 27th.
I'm going to aim for the 21st, May 21st. I'm going to aim for May 21st, okay?
Great.
I agree.
One.
Okay, I'm aiming for May 21st to have the final draft, which means I have to have the rough draft by 2 days before then. That'll be the 19th, okay? What day of the week is that?
That's a
is
Thursday,
Thursday,
right?
so, yeah, I'm gonna get you a rough draft on May 19th and send it out to people. What should it say? First off, do I have a motion and a second and a discussion to write a letter like this, with a few people helping me on the editing of this thing? So I'd like a motion.
So moved.
Okay, second.
A second.
Okay. Motion and a second to have the small subcommittee help me write a letter with the intent of having a draft sent to Ernest to be sent out to everybody on the 19th. Final thing to go through the process on the 21st. And then we have to figure out what to say. So do we get them all in favor of me writing a letter with that, under those conditions? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now we have.
Thank you, my date.
Okay, so we have a date. We're going to do this thing. What should it say? And who's going to help me now? So who would like to be? I can do a sub-quorum and have emails within the sub-quorum, and then the final thing. So I can have nine. I can have up to 9 people help me then. 8 people help me then if I want. So I'd like 3 or 4 people because I don't want to get
Might
too
go
complicated.
faster
I
with
will
less.
be one of your editors. Yeah, I can help.
Okay,
I'll make a
Norma?
note of that, yeah.
Might I point out, Larry,
Yes.
that when you started to make your motion and voting, there was a question on the floor that you failed to address?
I forgot. Okay,
From one?
Juan, did you have a question on the floor?
I did have my hand up, but I think it's been resolved. I just wondered when, I'm sorry for being late, but it seemed like we were trying to link our letter to the community meetings. And I was just a little confused because our letter is independent of it and of the meetings. And so I didn't know why we were pushing it so far out, and I think that's been resolved.
Okay, yeah. Some meetings run kind of on the late side and we can't get all in. I'm going to try to attend one of the earlier meetings to hear what the mayor says and get some community input. Plus I've heard from my neighborhood already. So Norma will help me. Dave, you want to help me?
Of course.
You want to help me with this?
Yes.
Juan, do you want to help me with this? Or I can say I already have one from D5, so. Okay.
I think we're good.
Okay.
Oh, D.
Huh?
D.
D? That's right. Okay.
The dream team.
All right.
1, 2,
Okay.
3, 4, 5.
So, by the way, for the phone that is the phone on the chair is recording it, and I'm just mentioning that Juan came in, so welcome Juan. So you missed the roll call at the beginning, you're now registered as being here. So the team that will be helping me write this thing will be Norma, David, Mimi, Nicole, and Desiree. Okay, so what do we want to say about the 0.25% sales tax? That we recognize that it's important to get money, but we have concerns about.
Why don't you guys talk among yourselves about that then?
I'm trying to get a petition of the whole commission though, too. Or,
Comments over there.
Richard?
Out in District 10, a lot of the neighborhoods are, they're not too fond of the general tax. So I just want to make that known.
Okay. Gary?
A concern I had is, and I realized about the voting, it changes color, but, you know, where do they think the money's going? So the concern I have is we get the tax, and what do we have to show for it at the end? And how long is this tax going to be in effect? A long time?
Does not have a sunset, does it?
Yeah. Ouch.
This is a 0.25% sales tax. The state limits on how high the sales tax can go. I personally am worried about the VTA tax, which is another 0.5% on top of that.
I don't have an issue in some cases, as long as I see results, okay? If they tell me they're gonna spend $100,000 on this project, and that project gets completed for $100,000, and I have tangible result, money well spent. But when they just collect taxes and I don't see that, that's.
It should be, the incremental addition should prioritize public safety as police, fire, gang prevention, and funding for other critical services such as pothole repair, pavement maintenance, and rapid rehousing of the homeless. That's in the budget.
It's kinda,
That would be this administration's proposed use, which is when it's a forever tax, right? Right.
So I was trying to get a feel for things that are in the budget that we want to support. And so like I said, there's gang prevention thing, the San Jose Works. hiring 700 teenagers, using technology to improve response times. This is, like I said, I want to give positive points for things that are in the budget that we have ourselves mentioned and supported and pushed for. So I remember Joe Horwood was talking specifically about that one. I thought that was important to mention that.
Mr. Chair, we've got a subcommittee of 5 people that can help you kind of thrash those things out. I think a full discussion of the commission's already been had. I think they reference it to you to kind of come up with recommendations.
I will.
I agree.
Okay.
We'll give
Just want to make sure there was nothing that was missed.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, just because the answer to the question is still hanging, it says San Jose leaders propose special tax for public safety and roads. I mean, that is what, it doesn't really give a whole lot of subtitles. It said they're proposing a special tax to fund 2 specific needs, police and roads.
That's a 4%.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to ask what I think is the obvious, but you've got all the input on the budget from all the commissioners, and the committee will review that in drafting this letter. So that will probably be the process, right? Okay.
I will have my biases in it. That's why I'm trying to get everybody else's biases too. But
And
I
I think you've got all our biases via the information you received, so I
You're gonna
appreciate
send it out to us.
confirmation.
And we'll get a draft out. to
And one
review.
note, from what was on the news this evening, this is not the final proposal about what will be voted on because of some legal issue. Is that what you heard as well?
Relative to Proposition B, that's,
Is that
To
different?
rescind it.
pardon?
That's a different one than this half
Yes.
cent?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, never
Well, that
mind.
was the Proposition B from last
Right.
year.
There was a
2
court
years-
ruling that
2
just
years
came out
ago.
this evening.
Yeah.
They use the same letter each month. Each election has a Proposition A, B, C, D, and so.
It's true, but they were
Proposition-
saying that this one would be rewritten for this.
Rescind it, actually.
Oh, okay, this one was talking about
Yes.
changing something for the
Rescind it.
Which is
upcoming
different
ballot.
from
which is-
Proposition B. The quarter-cent sales tax is Proposition B on the June 2016, whereas the other one is a Proposition B from some years ago about the
Everything's a B.
finances of the pension for the police and things like that. And yes, it causes confusions. I'm working on a Proposition A, and there's another Proposition A in the May ballot, which is separate from that, too. Okay, so I'm going to move on then. We have a motion and a second, and we're going to write a letter. I'm going to have a subcommittee. I will email you very quickly. I'm going to collect what I have here. I'm going to read the budget one more time. You have my email address. Everybody, no, you cannot email me, can they? You have to.
We go through it.
Have to
So
go
we're
through
going
it.
to post it once you give it to us, and they can react to that.
Right, but if there's any more input from the.
No, that's.
We have enough input. I'm going to write a